The message arrived during the graveyard shift at Lunar Deep Space Observatory. Sarah Chen was halfway through her third cup of coffee when the quantum receiver began pulsing with an unfamiliar pattern. She nearly dismissed it as another deep space anomaly, but something about the regularity caught her attention. "Dr. Roberts," she called out, her voice cutting through the usual quiet hum of the monitoring station. "I think you need to see this." The aging physicist shuffled over, his expression changing from mild annoyance to intense focus as he studied the signal pattern. "This is artificial," he muttered, fingers flying across the holographic interface, "and it's not one of ours." Within hours, the observatory was buzzing with activity. The signal was unlike anything in human databases, a complex quantum transmission that somehow maintained coherence across vast distances. It took 3 days for the team to decode it, and when they did, the implications sent shockwaves through Earth's scientific community. The Kilari were dying. Their civilization, spanning 12 worlds in the Carina Arm, was under systematic attack by an expansionist empire called the Vrax. The message described worlds being stripped of resources, populations being enslaved, and a culture facing extinction. But what truly caught humanity's attention wasn't the tale of conquest, it was the reason behind it. The Kilari had developed a way to manipulate quantum fields on a planetary scale, allowing them to create stable wormholes without massive energy expenditure. The Vrax wanted this technology, and they were willing to destroy an entire civilization to get it. Admiral Helena Torres sat in her office at Luna Command, watching the recording for the 12th time. The Kilari representative, a being of swirling energy contained within a crystalline matrix, pleaded for help from anyone who would listen. The message had been broadcast across thousands of light years, hoping to reach someone, anyone, who could intervene. "The Security Council's decision is final," her superior's hologram stated flatly. "Earth cannot risk openly antagonizing a power capable of destroying multiple worlds. We need more time to build up our defenses." Torres nodded, maintained a perfect poker face, and waited for the transmission to end. Then she began making calls. The first was to Captain Marcus Rodriguez, newly retired and in possession of the heavy cruiser he bought at auction. "Still interested in making history, old friend?" Next came Dr. Emily Wong, whose breakthrough in quantum field manipulation had revolutionized Earth's understanding of spacetime. "How'd you like to test your theories against alien tech?" One by one, she reached out to those she trusted, ship captains, engineers, scientists, and soldiers who'd served under her command. Each call ended with the same question: "Are you willing to risk everything to save a civilization we've never met?" The responses varied in words but not in spirit. "When do we leave? Count me in." Someone has to stand up to bullies. In her private hangar at Titan Base, Torres inspected her personal vessel, the Hyperion, a prototype stealth destroyer she'd helped design. It wasn't the biggest ship, but it was fast, hard to detect, and packed with experimental technology that the bureaucrats thought too risky to mass produce. "Admiral," her co-pilot Diana chimed, "I've compiled the volunteer list. 47 ships have committed, carrying a total of 2,183 crew members. 15 are modified civilian vessels, 23 are retired military craft, and 9 are experimental prototypes. Their designers refused to surrender." Torres smiled. It wasn't a proper fleet by any military standard. No matching ships, no standardized equipment, no official chain of command. But maybe that was exactly what they needed. "What are the odds?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. Based on the Kilari data regarding Vrax's military capabilities, Diana calculated, our chances of success are approximately 12.7%. However, the AI paused, something it rarely did. Historical data suggests humans have a peculiar habit of beating astronomical odds when fighting for a worthy cause. Torres began composing her resignation letter to Luna Command. They would court-martial her, of course, but that assumed she survived the mission. "Send word to all ships. We launch in 48 hours. Tell them to gather at the dark side of Titan. And Diana. Yes, Admiral. Prepare a response to the Kilari. Tell them humanity has heard their call. Tell them help is coming. Not a nation, not an army, but something perhaps more powerful. People who choose to stand against injustice, no matter the cost. As she worked through the night, preparing for the mission that would either make history or end in disaster, Torres thought about the Kilari message. Their quantum technology could revolutionize space travel, true. But that wasn't why she was risking everything. She was doing it because somewhere out there, an entire civilization was facing extinction, and they had asked for help. Sometimes that was reason enough. The dark side of Titan was alive with activity. Ships of all shapes and sizes emerged from Saturn's rings, using the ice and debris as cover from Earth's monitoring stations. Each vessel that arrived told its own story of human ingenuity and determination. The first to join Admiral Torres was the Salvator, a massive mining vessel captained by Wei Chen. Its huge frame, nearly 2 kilometers long, had been reinforced with salvaged military-grade armor. The laser arrays meant for cutting through asteroids had been modified into makeshift point defense weapons. "She's not pretty," Wei said during the initial briefing. "But those Vraks won't expect a mining laser powerful enough to slice their ships in half." His crew, mostly veteran asteroid miners, had spent years working in the most dangerous conditions the solar system could offer. They knew how to improvise, how to survive when the smallest mistake meant death. Dr. Emily Walm arrived in the Quantum Dream, a research vessel that looked more like a collection of geometric shapes than a spaceship. Its experimental quantum field generators, originally designed for scientific research, had been repurposed for something far more ambitious. "We can't match their conventional weapons," she explained, her hologram flickering in the Hyperion's command center. "But we can turn their own quantum technology against them. Every ship they destroy will create a cascading field effect that'll disrupt their targeting systems." Captain Rodriguez brought not just his heavy cruiser, the Iron Spirit, but a network of contacts throughout the outer system. Independent prospectors, retired military officers, and even a few pirates who decided to fight for something bigger than profit. Each ship that joined their fleet added another piece to an increasingly complex puzzle. The Artemis arrived next, a hydroponics vessel commanded by Dr. Sarah Mitchell. Its vast internal gardens, capable of feeding thousands, had been partially converted into medical bays. "We'll need somewhere to treat the wounded," she said simply. "And my team knows more about keeping things alive than anyone in the system." Torres watched as her ragtag fleet assembled, each ship bringing its own unique capabilities. The Starkissers, a group of solar wind surfers led by the legendary Zara Hassan, offered unmatched speed and maneuverability. Their small ships, practically invisible to standard sensors, would be perfect for reconnaissance and hit-and-run attacks. The biggest surprise came from the Jupiter Research Station. Dr. James Cooper arrived in the Prometheus, a prototype vessel equipped with experimental electromagnetic pulse technology. "They told me to scrap her," he said with a grin. "I decided to do something more interesting instead." Diana kept a running tally as more ships arrived. Cargo haulers retrofitted with military-grade shields, atmospheric processors that could generate electromagnetic storms. Even a few private luxury yachts, their wealthy owners deciding that their fortunes meant nothing if they couldn't use them to make a difference. In the Hyperion's tactical room, Torres met with her newly formed command staff. The holographic display showed their fleet, a bizarre collection of vessels that no military strategist would ever put together. But as they began discussing tactics, she realized they had something more valuable than uniformity. "The Vraks expect to face organized military resistance," Rodriguez pointed out. "Their tactics, their technology, everything is designed to counter conventional forces. But we're bringing mining lasers, quantum field disruptors, and ships that can hide in solar winds. How do you fight an enemy that doesn't play by your rules?" Dr. Wong's analysis backed this up. "Their quantum technology is more advanced than ours, but it's rigid, standardized. They've sacrificed adaptability for power. We can use that against them. The next 48 hours were a frenzy of preparation. Ships were modified, crews trained in new tactics, and emergency protocols established. Dr. Mitchell's medical teams distributed supplies and set up trade protocols. Way's miners taught others how to use industrial equipment as weapons. Torres stood at the Hyperion's observation deck, watching her fleet take shape. It wasn't the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled, nor the most powerful. But every ship was there by choice. Every crew member had volunteered knowing the odds. They were about to attempt something unprecedented. A rescue mission across thousands of light years, undertaken not by a nation or an army, but by individuals who couldn't stand by it while an entire civilization faced extinction. "Diana," she called out, "send the signal. All ships prepare for quantum jump. We're about to show the galaxy what humanity stands for." As the fleet aligned for their first jump, Torres thought about the message that had started all this. The Kilari had asked for help from anyone who would listen. They were about to learn that when humans heard a cry for help, they answered, not because it was easy or safe or sanctioned by authority, but because it was right. The stars blurred as 47 ships, carrying the hopes of two civilizations, leaped into the unknown. The journey through deep space proved more treacherous than anyone had anticipated. After their third quantum jump, the fleet encountered their first major challenge, a massive ionic storm that stretched across their planned route, making conventional navigation impossible. "The quantum interference is too strong," Dr. Wong reported from the quantum dream. "If we try to jump through that, we'll scatter half the fleet across 20 light years." In the Hyperion's command center, Torres studied the sensor data. The storm wasn't just blocking their path, it was growing. Waiting it out wasn't an option. Every day delayed meant more Kilari suffering under Vrak's occupation. That's when Zahra Hassan, leading the Starchaser squadron, proposed something unprecedented. "We use it," she said, her hologram flickering with interference. "My ships ride solar winds. This storm, it's just another current." The plan was audacious. The Starchasers would plot a path through the storm using their expertise in reading energy flows. The larger ships would follow in their wake, using the smaller vessels' quantum signatures as guidance beacons. "It's never been done at this scale," Hassan admitted, "but neither has anything else we're doing." The journey through the storm tested every crew to their limits. Ships creaked under the ionic assault. Navigation systems failed. Communication became possible only through tight-beam quantum transmitters. But the fleet pressed on, following the graceful dance of the Starchasers through the chaos. They emerged 3 days later, ships battered but intact. More importantly, they'd discovered something valuable. The storm had masked their quantum signatures. As far as any long-range sensors were concerned, they'd vanished. But nature wasn't finished testing them. At the edge of a binary star system, the fleet encountered a gravity well that defied their calculations. 2 ships, the cargo hauler Northern Light and the modified yacht Stellar Dream, were caught in its pull. Wei Chen's massive mining vessel Salvatore moved to assist, extending its industrial-grade tractor beams. "Those are meant for asteroids," Wei warned as his ship strained against the gravitational force. "Not sure how long they'll hold." Dr. Cooper's voice cut through the tension. "The Prometheus's EMP systems, we can use them to create a localized disruption in the gravity field. It won't last long, but it might give us the window we need." What followed was a masterpiece of improvisation. The Prometheus generated electromagnetic pulses precisely calibrated by Dr. Wong's quantum calculations. The Salvatore's tractor beams, reinforced by emergency power from 3 other ships, fought against the gravitational pull. The Starchasers positioned themselves in a precise formation, using their solar sails to create a slipstream effect. It took 6 hours of coordinated effort, but both ships were pulled free. As they limped to Dr. Mitchell's Artemis for repairs, Torres realized something crucial. Their fleet's greatest strength wasn't their weapons or technology, but their ability to combine their diverse capabilities in unexpected ways. The lessons learned proved invaluable. The fleet began organizing into smaller cross-functional groups. Mining ships paired with research vessels, their industrial equipment enhanced by experimental technology. Medical teams shared knowledge with engineering crews, developing new ways to protect against quantum radiation. But their greatest challenge came from an unexpected source. During a routine sensor sweep, Diana detected an anomaly. "Admiral," the AI's voice carried an unusual note of concern. "I'm detecting quantum wake signatures, large ones. Military pattern." The Vrax had beaten them here. A massive warship, easily 10 times the size of the Hyperion, had passed through this sector less than a week ago. And it was heading toward Earth. "They must have detected our departure," Rodriguez said during the emergency command meeting. "They're sending a message. Interfere with us, and your world is next." The fleet faced its first major decision: return to defend Earth, or continue their mission to save the Kilari. The debate raged for hours, until Dr. Mitchell spoke up. "We're not just fighting for the Kilari," she said quietly. "We're fighting to show that someone in this galaxy is willing to stand up to the Vrax. If we turn back now, we're proving their tactics work. They'll keep using the same strategy, threatening civilians to prevent interference, until no one dares oppose them." Torres looked at her assembled commanders, seeing the same determination in their eyes that had brought them on this mission. "Earth's defenses are stronger than the Vrax realize," she said, "and we're about to show them why threatening humanity is a serious mistake. Set course for the next jump point. We continue as planned." As the fleet prepared for their next quantum jump, Torres recorded a message to be sent back to Earth through their quantum relay network. It was brief but clear. "Vrax warship incoming. Suggest welcoming committee. We'll deal with them from this end." The stars blurred again as the fleet jumped, carrying with them humanity's answer to intimidation. Not retreat, but renewed determination. The Vrax were about to learn that threatening Earth had only guaranteed their defeat. The Kilari home system was a grotesque display of Vrax supremacy. Massive warships hung in orbit around a crystalline world, their angular forms blocking out the light of the system's twin suns. Mining platforms larger than cities tore into the planet's smaller moons, while energy beams lanced down to the surface, systematically destroying anything that resembled resistance. From the edge of the system, Torres and her fleet watched through the Starchaser's stealth reconnaissance feeds. The Vrax fleet was even larger than their intelligence had suggested, over 300 warships, each one bristling with quantum weaponry. "Their formations are perfect," Rodriguez observed, studying the tactical display. "Too perfect. They're so confident in their superiority that they've become predictable." Dr. Wong's analysis confirmed this. Their quantum field generators are all synchronized to the same frequency. It makes their weapons more powerful. But it makes them vulnerable, Dr. Cooper finished. "If we can disrupt that synchronization, their entire defense network could collapse." The plan that emerged was quintessentially human, a combination of scientific insight, tactical cunning, and outright audacity. They would turn the Vrax's greatest strengths into weaknesses. The first phase began with Wei Chen's mining fleet. The massive ships approached the system's outer rim, their industrial lasers firing at full power into specific points in space. To the Vrax, it appeared that the humans were attempting to cut through their defensive line, a suicidal move given the disparity in firepower. But the lasers weren't weapons. They were creating a precise pattern of quantum disruptions, like ripples in a pond. Dr. Wang's calculations had shown that these ripples, when properly aligned, would interact with the Vrax's synchronized shields in unexpected ways. The Vrax responded exactly as predicted, shifting their formation to intercept what they perceived as a primitive frontal assault. That's when Hassan's Starchasers made their move. The small, agile ships had been hiding in the quantum wake of the mining lasers. As the Vrax ships moved, the Starchasers darted through their lines, each one releasing a payload developed by Dr. Cooper. quantum frequency modulators that attach to the Vrax ship's hull like electronic barnacles. Phase 1 complete, Hassan reported. Though I think we got their attention. The Vrax fleet erupted in a fury of energy weapons, their superior technology unleashing devastation into space. But their targets were already gone. The Starchasers riding artificial solar winds created by the Artemis's atmospheric processors to escape. Torres watched the enemy's response carefully. Diana analyzed their attack pattern. As expected, Admiral, the AI replied. They're maintaining formation even while pursuing targets. Their tactical doctrine prioritizes coordinated attacks over individual initiative. That's when Torres gave the order that would change the course of the battle. All ships execute Operation Chaos. The human fleet split into its component groups, each one attacking from a different vector. The Vrax commanders, trained to expect conventional military tactics, found themselves facing an incomprehensible assault. Mining ships fired industrial lasers that shouldn't have been weapons. Research vessels projected quantum fields that made their ships appear to be in multiple places simultaneously. Even the medical ship Artemis played its part, its atmospheric processors creating localized storms that interfered with Vrax targeting systems. But the real trap was in the quantum frequency modulators. As the Vrax ships maneuvered and fired, the devices activated, creating a cascading disruption through their synchronized network. Ship after ship found their perfect quantum harmonization failing, their weapons and shields becoming erratic. Their coordination is breaking down, Rodriguez reported with grim satisfaction. They don't know how to fight as individuals. The Vrax responded by bringing their largest ships forward, massive dreadnoughts that could destroy entire flotillas with a single shot. That's when Torres revealed their final surprise. Dr. Cooper, the Prometheus is yours. The experimental ship moved into position, its electromagnetic pulse systems charged beyond safe limits. The quantum disruption had created a moment of vulnerability in the Vrax's defenses. The Prometheus unleashed its full power, not at the enemy ships, but at the space between them. The resulting quantum cascade was beyond anything they had simulated. Every frequency modulator activated simultaneously, creating a wave of disruption that rippled through the Vrax fleet. Ships lost power, weapons went offline, and their perfect formation dissolved into chaos. All ships, execute your assigned targets, Torres commanded. Show them what happens when you threaten humanity. What followed wasn't just a battle. It was a demonstration of human adaptability and ingenuity. Mining lasers sliced through disabled warships. Research vessels created quantum sinkholes that swallowed enemy fighters. Even the civilian ships played their part, their improvised weapons proving that humanity's primitive technology could still be lethal. The Vrax fleet, for the first time in their history, faced an enemy they couldn't comprehend. Their strategy relied on overwhelming force and perfect coordination. Without those advantages, individual ship commanders proved unable to adapt. The battle's aftermath transformed the Kilari system. Where Vrax warships had once dominated the sky, now their broken hulks drifted in orbit, a testament to humanity's unexpected victory. The surviving Vrax vessels had retreated in disarray, their supposedly invincible fleet shattered by an enemy they had dismissed as primitive. But victory had come at a cost. 15 human ships had been destroyed, their crews saved only by Dr. Mitchell's emergency evacuation protocols. The Prometheus's final pulse had burned out its systems completely, though Dr. Cooper had managed to save his ship by implementing an emergency shutdown. Even the surviving vessels bore scars from the intense battle. The Kilari emerged from their underground sanctuaries to find their world saved by beings they had never met. Their crystalline forms pulsed with colors of amazement as they witnessed the unconventional fleet that had achieved the impossible. First Speaker Lyra, the Kilari leader, met with Torres aboard the Hyperion. The alien's crystalline matrix swirled with patterns that the translation systems interpreted as profound emotion. You came. Lyra's thoughts resonated through the quantum translator, not a mighty empire or a vast alliance, but a handful of vessels crewed by volunteers. Why? Torres gestured to her assembled crew. Because it was right. Because every civilization deserves the chance to choose its own path. And because humanity has learned through our own history that standing aside while others suffer only ensures that injustice prevails. The Kilari response was unprecedented. They shared their quantum gateway technology freely with their rescuers, but more importantly, they offered an alliance. Not with Earth's governments, who had chosen not to intervene, but with the fleet that had risked everything to save them. Dr. Wong and her team worked with Kilari scientists, combining their theoretical knowledge with the advanced technology. The result was a new form of quantum drive that would revolutionize space travel. The Kilari's gratitude ensured that this technology would reach Earth despite the official policy of non-intervention. Wei Chen's mining expertise proved invaluable in helping the Kilari restore their damaged infrastructure. His crews worked alongside crystalline beings, developing new techniques that combined human industrial methods with Kilari quantum manipulation. The Artemis, under Dr. Mitchell's direction, became a center for cultural and scientific exchange. Humans learned about the Kilari's unique biology and philosophy, while the aliens studied humanity's remarkable adaptability and creative problem-solving. News of the victory spread quickly across the galaxy. The Vrax Empire, thought invincible, had been defeated by a makeshift fleet using repurposed civilian technology. Other worlds under their domination began to resist, inspired by humanity's example. Torres received a message from Earth Command 3 weeks after the battle. The Vrax warship that had threatened Earth had indeed arrived, only to face a prepared defense network based on the tactical data her fleet had sent back. The attempt at intimidation had failed spectacularly, forcing the Vrax to retreat on multiple fronts. "You realize you've changed everything," Rodriguez said to Torres as they watched Kilari engineers help repair the battle damage to their ships. "The galaxy won't be the same after this." "Good," Torres replied. "Maybe now they'll understand that technological superiority doesn't guarantee victory. That sometimes the strongest weapon isn't a quantum cannon or a perfect formation, but the willingness to stand up for what's right." The legacy of the battle extended far beyond military implications. The Kilari's quantum gateway technology, combined with human ingenuity, opened up new possibilities for space exploration and colonization. Dr. Cooper's electromagnetic pulse technology, refined through combat experience, led to breakthroughs in energy manipulation. But perhaps the most significant change was in how humanity was viewed by the galactic community. They weren't the most advanced civilization, nor the most powerful, but they had proved themselves to be perhaps the most unpredictable, willing to challenge impossible odds, adapt to any situation, and fight for principles rather than just survival. 1 year after the battle, a memorial was established in orbit around Kilari. It displayed the names of every human who had participated in the mission, along with a simple message in both human and Kilari languages. To those who chose to act when action seemed impossible, who proved that the measure of civilization lies not in its technology, but in its courage to defend what's right. The Hyperion remained in the Kilari system as the flagship of a new joint defense force. Torres had declined Earth's belated offers of promotion and official recognition, choosing instead to help build something new, a partnership between species based on mutual respect and shared values. Diana, monitoring the quantum networks, reported increasing signs that the Vrax Empire was fracturing. Without their aura of invincibility, more worlds were choosing to resist. The age of unchallenged imperial expansion was ending, replaced by something more complex, but ultimately more hopeful. Was it worth it? Torres asked her assembled crew during the anniversary commemoration. All the risk, all the losses, all the uncertainty. The answer came not from her human crew, but from a young Kilari scientist whose crystal matrix glowed with determined purpose. "You taught us that the universe is not shaped by the powerful alone, but by those willing to stand together against impossible odds. That lesson is worth any price." And so a new chapter in galactic history began, written not by empires or armies, but by individuals who chose to make a difference. The stars watched as humanity took its place among the spacefaring races, not as conquerors or victims, but as proof that courage, creativity, and compassion could overcome any obstacle.